You're listening to DraftKings Network.
George Clooney and Brad Pitt's new movie, Wolves, is on Apple TV Plus September 27th.
That's where I want you to be now.
So if you want to see George Clooney and Brad Pitt, go to Apple TV Plus.
You got to start the story there.
Or if you want to see Brad Pitt and George Clooney, go to Apple TV Plus.
I am enjoying the show.
And if you want to see their new movie, Wolves,
You can't do it, I'm going to help you out. I can do it, so do it.
definitely go to Apple TV Plus.
Admit it, it's cool. Okay, fine, it was very cool.
Wolves, streaming September 27th on Apple TV Plus. Rated R.
Now's a good time to remember where the story of tequila started. In 1795, the first tequila distillery was opened by the Cuervo family. And 229 years later, Cuervo is still going strong. Family owned from the start, same family, same land. Now's a good time to enjoy Cuervo, the tequila that invented tequila. Go to Cuervo.com to shop tequila or visit a store near you. Cuervo, now's a good time. Trademarks owned by Becle, SAB the CV. Copyright 2024. Proximo. Jersey City, New Jersey. Please drink responsibly.
Shadow Show.
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 Shadowing it.
What a delight we have today, because it's not just that it is the rare Greg Cote Wednesday. It's not just that Amin Al-Hassan has bombed in because he's got a lot of opinions on a lot of things. Stugotz has disrupted the entirety of our chemistry around here because he has decided that he wants to be in the shipping container, I believe, for the first time ever at the beginning of a show, because he simply wants to be closer to Tony.
It is jarring seeing him in there.
It's weird, right? It doesn't, I mean, what are we going to do? You're sitting in the Stugotz seat. Greg just said to me, I feel bad. And he was saying he feels bad because he thinks he should be in the shipping container as if that's a demotion. When it's not a demotion, it's a promotion to being near the lovely scent of Tony's masculinity.
Yeah, listen, Tony's only in, a day or two a week. And when he's here, I like to be close to him. And so this way, I am close to Tony. You'll find me sitting on his lap at some point. I love Tony.
Odd. I've always thought of the shipping container like the back of the classroom. It's not a demotion, Greg. It's quite the opposite. It's like the people who sit up front, we're really engaged and we're doing this thing. Like whatever the teacher's talking about, we're right there with.
Yes.
The back of the class, though, that's where the jokes happen. That's where the cool kids are hanging out. And that's where the cool conversations.
I mean, rather be back there.
I would.
Amin doesn't like to be in here as much as he likes to be in the other room just flinging feces.
Well, I didn't mean it as a demotion, and Amin is exactly right. And when I was a school kid, way back in the day, we used to pass notes because we didn't have a way to text yet. And so way in the back of the classroom was where the note passing happened, where the little quiet giggling happened. It was the place to be.
Greg, I love that you brought back passing notes. We should need to do that on the show more often. Passing handwritten notes. We do that a little bit here, not so much in the shipping container. But let me just tell you right now, kids, they don't text in class anymore. You know why? They make them put their phones in the little cubby before the class starts. They can't text each other. Yeah.
Wow. That's all kids, all schools. Are we still doing spitballs? Is that something that still exists in a classroom? Is that something?
How else do you get someone's attention?
Put it on the poll at Batard Show, Juju. Are we still doing spitballs in classrooms? Tony, are you comfortable? Our HR department might not be good with some of what Stugotz is doing right now with his power.
Look at you flexing HR. I mean,
I didn't know we had HR here. That would have been good to know like 4 years ago.
We just got it.
I want to see Stugotz on Tony's lap before the show ends. I just have to see that.
Let's not.
The visual is lovely.
The thing is, I stand throughout the show, so it's either I have him on my shoulders or that's it, because I don't really sit.
I'll take the shoulders.
Yeah.
Tempt them.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
Today's episode is sponsored by DraftKings. Stay tuned because you'll hear more about DraftKings and all it has to offer throughout the show. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
I need some assistance here from the group, because all I've got in all of the people that we have here today that is really excited about baseball is Jeremy. Now, Billy is creeping closer to caring about the last couple of weeks of baseball. He was watching Ohtani on his phone. You can't make that noise and not you checked in on a Marlins game last night on your phone. You can't go when you're checking scores on your phone of a team that's 40 games under 500.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're making it seem like I don't care. I do care, and I do regularly check in, but I'm keeping an eye on this Ohtani situation because he could be the first player ever to be a member of the 50-50 club, and he could do so here in Miami. He's 2 home runs and 2 stolen bases away from that. Now, they're here for 2 more days, so what I'm doing is I'm keeping an eye on it to know if I should buy tickets for Thursday's game or not. Like, in the quest for history, I would like him to get close to history tonight, but not too close. Honestly, like, if he could knock one of the 2 categories of 50 out of the way tonight, that would probably be close enough for me.
No, you want him to do one of each tonight, 49, and then get the bonanza on Thursday.
Of one of each?
One of each, 50-50.
That's fine. I mean, I want enough progress to be made tonight, so I have to make a decision as to whether or not I want to go Thursday. I learned in Ichiro's quest for 3,000 hits that going every day hoping to see it happen is a fool's errand. It's a fool's errand. I would go and he needed 3 hits. And it's like, is Ichiro going to get 3 hits tonight? Like, no, realistically not. He's a pinch hitter. He's not going to even have 3 at-bats. So I learned the hard way. With this Ohtani situation, I need to go when the time is right, so I need him to make progress today. He made progress yesterday. I need more progress today, and then you will maybe see me there on Thursday if I'm allowed to go.
It seems like this happens to you all the time, though, because didn't you go to Miguel Cabrera's thing, and that also happened there? And then the Ichiro thing, too, so you're like 2 for 2 on trying to go see history.
Ichiro happened in Colorado, correct?
We don't need to go down this path again. Yes, Ichiro happened in Colorado the day before they returned to Miami because Don Mattingly decided it was time to give him a spot start after he had been pitch hitting for months. Let me give him a spot start. And sure enough, the day before they returned home to Miami, after they've been tricking people into coming to watch their games for months, he does it the day before they return home with a triple that just got over an extended outfielder's glove and then hit the wall. His only hit of the day. That we don't need to go over that again. And in terms of Miguel Cabrera did his part to an extent. He did his part in that the day before he got 3 hits and he was 1 hit away. And then I said, you know what? After Ichiro did this dastardly deed to me that he made me do all of this for nothing, I need to go see this 3,000th hit. So I went up to Detroit, and he didn't get a hit. And then the next day, the game was rained out. And then my quick, trip to Detroit for, a cup of coffee up there one day, maybe back the same night, maybe back the next day, turned into a full weekend's worth of things. And then it became a situation where I had the tickets, but I needed to buy tickets the next day. And then they made it a split doubleheader, so you needed 2 different tickets to get there. It was a whole fiasco. It ended up happening on a Sunday, but it should have happened much sooner.
You were in Detroit for like 5 days.
It was a whole thing.
Took a long way to get there, Billy. It really did. To the end of the story is what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Listen, chasing history is a very tricky game. It is. I mean, you never know.
How is it that you two can be sitting or standing that close to each other and not know that the other one was going to talk? So that you how is
it's totally fair.
How is it possible that you and Tony talked at exactly the same time when you couldn't be closer to communicate?
Actually, I think we're not close enough. You're right, Dan. That's on me. It's not on Tony. Totally on me. We're not close enough. I'll get closer.
I wondered the same thing.
It's hard to imagine what just happened there. But one of the things that I wanted to do, because I'm going to try and get the group enticed with baseball. I know it's going to be hard. But
why do you keep saying that? We love baseball.
Good question.
I keep saying that because every time I've tried to talk about it over the last 3 years, nobody but Jeremy wants to talk baseball with me.
He's chatty, that's why.
Yeah, he just wants mic time. He'll talk about anything you want. Talk to him about crochet. I'm sure he has thoughts.
I've been talking to our Meadowlark metrics people, okay? And one of the things that they've been saying for 3 years is the way to get all of the metrics up is to have hot takes, and that's not really generally, it's not generally what I do. However, I have a hot take today. It is a rare thing for me, but I believe that I'm going to say something that that is surprising at the very least, because what Ohtani is doing, there is no precedent, obviously, for this kind of player. Somebody who, when he's healthy, can hit 50 home runs and also be someone who's a dominant pitcher. But I actually think that the rarest thing he's doing is the stolen bases at that size. It's like seeing Babe Ruth being able to steal 50 bases. The guys that are that power hungry generally don't bother with the risk of getting injured stealing bases, because what's the point of stealing one base when you're really good at taking all four of them at one time?
That's a fair point. I've always thought the stolen base was a little overrated. I think the stolen base is overrated. And here's another thing I take, and I hate to say it because Ohtani's a wonderful player, best in the game. The whole arbitrary celebration of 50-50 is a contrivance. I feel that way about a lot of milestones in sports. Okay, why not 45-45? Let's celebrate that and not worry about whether he gets to 50 or not. I think he's not setting a record. It's not a record for most home runs.
No one's done 50-50.
I understand that, but it's an arbitrary, contrived milestone is all I'm saying. He's not setting a record. You know, it's not somebody's 750.
No Dodger has ever hit 50. You don't care about that?
No, not really. I mean, look, he's a great player, and he doesn't need a milestone to be seen as even greater. That's my, the idea of, and with due respectability, the idea of making a special trip to a ballpark to see history made, it's arbitrary history. It's sort of a contrived milestone. It's if you're a fan of that team, celebrate it. But for all of baseball to celebrate it, I think is a bit much.
I was about to get upset. Then the more Greg talked about it, the more I'm coming on his side. It is just kind of a number.
Yeah.
I mean, he's already the only member of the 48 club, right?
Yeah, he is.
Exactly.
When did we didn't make, I didn't see any fanfare about that. What is it about 50 that makes it magical?
Yeah, it's crazy. That's in sports, though. If it ends in a 0, we laud it. But
wait a minute.
Yeah,
it's not,
right.
He's right. I mean, it's just a round number.
It's the round number. That's what people care about.
Number.
Okay.
And the 5 is an interesting shaped number.
It is. It's like it's got a gut, but also it's trying to like suck it in.
No,
Got
ass,
a little
though.
bit in the front, a little bit in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah. 8
up-
is really the most voluptuous of the numbers, if we can
I
agree.
get horny. I get so horny.
8.
Yeah, we love
I
8.
see the number.
I'm an 8 man.
Yeah, I am too. It's a good point, Billy.
Yeah.
I prefer the 2.
What?
Ew.
I don't know.
Nobody
What's
likes
wrong?
2.
2 is boring.
What does that mean?
2.
Deviant.
Awful. 2's awful.
2.
Don't
wanna body shame a 2, but, like, we could go to
shame
see
me.
Dr. Hochstein,
Don't
you know what I
shame
mean?
me about what I like physically from my numbers. Don't do that.
Is this the hot take? I mean,
Yeah, what is the hot take? Here's a hot take. If Babe Ruth came back to play today, I would not bother going to watch him.
It's a mediocre take.
Not
That's
interested.
not a hot take.
Not
That-
interested.
what Greg
An
said is a hot
all-time
take.
great. An all-time great came back via time travel, and he's the only person that has access to time travel. And he came back, or I guess he came into the future, and he's gonna play a game. And I tell you, I'm not interested in going to see that.
I'm not interested either. I'll tell you why. Because the whole thing is the mythology. Then you put him out there, and
he'd be
someone
terrible.
throws 105, and he's like, "What sorcery is this?"
Right.
I don't want to watch him turn into Greg Cote at the plate.
Thank you.
Go read for me how heavy the bat was that Babe Ruth swung, that he's going to try and hit
You
Zach.
can't trust anything that you read in those history books. No.
Zach Wheeler yesterday was throwing nothing but fastballs. Nothing. It was just fastballs. It was like 80% fastballs, and they couldn't hit any of them. The piece of lumber that Babe Ruth would be trying to get around very slowly on Zach Wheeler.
42 ounces on the bat.
I found it says 14 chicken eggs. That's how they used to measure things at the time of Babe Ruth.
He was Dominican. He was Dominican.
Greg Cote, how long have you been married?
I have been married about 42 years.
You think 42 as an anniversary is as big as 50?
Yeah, I think they're all big when you get to be my age.
That's different, though. Many people have been married 42 years. It's not something to celebrate.
I can tell you this. My wife doesn't delineate. Like, she wants to be celebrated on every anniversary. And to her, 41 is the same as 40 or 45. Now, 50, again, because of all this mythology about worshiping numbers ending in 0, I don't deny that 50 is the golden anniversary. I don't deny it, but that too is a contrivance. 45 is huge.
48 is going to be hot.
But it's also leaning very heavily on the sexiness of the number 5. Right?
You said the number 5 has a gut.
But it's cool, though.
Yeah.
Nice caboose.
Yeah.
Dad bod.
Yeah, it does.
It has no caboose. There's no caboose on the 5.
No ass on a 5.
The 5 doesn't have an ass.
Hold on. Which way is it facing?
No, well, that's what you said before. You said you couldn't tell the front from the back, but it's clear the gut's in the front. Yeah.
Unless that's the back.
I don't know. Now I'm thinking about it. Maybe it is. That is the backside. Maybe he's got a flat tummy and a BBL. And we've been looking at 5 the wrong way this whole time.
That's why I'm telling you there's no confusing the number 8. Number 8 can be facing any direction, including right at you, and it's like,
whoa. Yeah,
it looks the same, yeah.
It's the voluptuous number.
Oh, yeah.
So horny.
So you guys don't understand how it is that I've observed over the years that you don't want to talk about baseball so much that you talk about voluptuous numbers instead in a way that triggers passion in the room. But I'm trying to get you to talk about Ohtani. And
Baseball
what does he
numbers.
say? Don't love the number 50.
Well, hold
what
on.
Greg Cote
You're
says.
the captain of this ship. We just follow your lead. You want to talk about football? We talk about football. You want to talk basketball? We're here to talk about basketball.
But I've
Yesterday
always got
we
a
did an
mutiny.
election
When you're
thing.
in charge, I've always got a mutiny.
Oh, falsehoods.
When you sit in that seat, now you got Stugotz behind you sniffing Tony.
What?
Babe Ruth was Dominican?
Yeah, of course. 100%.
What do you mean?
I mean, he was born in like 1890 or whatever. They were bad at keeping records. There's a lot of records.
His name is George Herman Ruth.
Jorge Herman. Yeah, Jorge Herman.
Jorge Herman.
Jorge Herman. They added Ruth at the end because they're like, we got to give him something. There's been a lot of people back in, obviously we're relitigating history a lot of the times, and we're looking at and we're saying, hey, wait a second. He wasn't white.
When they got to Ellis Island, they looked at Ruiz and they said, Ruth.
Yeah.
That's what they gave him.
He was an orphan.
Put it on the poll at Batard show. Was Babe Ruth Dominican? Because
Well, hold on. Of Dominican descent, because it says he was born in Baltimore.
That's what they say.
Have you been to Baltimore? There's
Yes.
so many Dominicans there.
He's of German descent,
Allegedly.
according to his biography.
Herman.
Well, that's exactly according to his biography. That's what I've been trying to tell you this whole time.
Okay.
Greg, are you learning this for the first time?
Learning that he's of Dominican descent?
That Babe Ruth was not white?
I've heard rumors about that. I'm not hearing it for the first time, but I'm not seeing it in any legitimate biography of him. So
You're looking through all the mainstream media sources,
right,
huh?
and where are you finding it? I mean,
I'm from the streets.
Yeah.
Okay.
They talk about it in Baltimore.
okay.
there tends to be more accurate information on the streets these days than in the misinformation of wherever it is that you're getting your information on the internet. I believe in the streets more than I do in the internet.
Watch The Wire one time. Maybe you'll learn something.
I am not going to be able to get you interested in baseball with even Jose Altuve being ejected for taking off his shoe. I want to play this video before the show today, and I want to ask you guys how unpleasant I should or shouldn't find this. I look over to my right while we're having breakfast and sitting on the couch with one shoe removed, scratching his socked foot with the sneaker on his other foot is Stugotz.
Yeah,
and it made me think that you had athlete's foot and that was an inappropriate place to do that.
We're in the middle of the office, you're saying? I mean,
a breakfast, an office and the breakfast. Yeah, all of that.
When you have an itch, Dan, you have to scratch it. I'm not bending anymore. I've stopped bending about a decade ago, so I use my foot to scratch the itch, you know? It's a heady play. Yeah.
How did the group feel about this? Because I thought it was not only inappropriate, I didn't think it smelled particularly good either.
Really?
Gross.
Was it that he was in the eating area? Yeah. Was that it?
He wasn't. Well, everything here is the eating area.
Right.
If you've seen people wandering around with food, scrambled egg, Stugotz often walks around with a single stick of bacon in his greasy hand with no napkin.
You were so focused on my foot, you didn't realize I had a piece of bacon in my mouth. I mean, while I was scratching my foot with my other toe.
Do you guys think that this is appropriate in any way in a work setting to take off your shoe and scratch the other socked foot with your sneaker?
Dan, as you know, I'm a glass half full kind of guy. I feel like this is a great improvement. He's not using his hands anymore. I was really worried when you said he was scratching his foot. He was scratching his foot, and then he dapped me up. Good morning, Amin. Now that I know he was using his other foot, I don't really care. I don't come into contact
But
with
there's
his
bacon on that hand. He's walking around. His breakfast every morning is without a plate or a napkin, just walking around with a single stick of bacon in his greasy fingers.
But if you could shake one hand every single morning, would it be an actual hand or a hand that's dripping with bacon? I mean, come on. A bacon-soaked hand?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Everyone loves bacon, Dan. I mean, the taste, the smell, the touch, all of it.
I don't intend to be argumentative, but we were waiting to talk baseball, and you took us to bacon hands.
and scratching feet and stuff.
Yeah, like we're trying to stay on the baseball track here. Season's winding up. We're headed into the playoffs. Bunch of seam heads we have on this show today, and you just want to talk about bacon hands and feet.
Well, let's get to this Jose Altuve footage because, so to speak. Let's talk about the last 12 days of this season because of the wild card are intensely interesting if you care about anything that's happening here. This Padres game was amazing. I think the Padres struck out like 16 or 17 times. The delays caused wild pitches, and here's one of the delays because Jose Altuve has clearly grounded the ball off his foot, but is also a known cheater, and nobody believes anything that the Astros say about anything. This is what happens when Altuve grounds the ball off of his foot and then tries to prove to the umpire that they've got it wrong, that that's not a fair ball.
That hits Altuve's foot. They're going to say fair ball. Brennan Miller's going to say that ball didn't hit Altuve, and that's going to be the final out of the inning. Brennan Miller is not ingratiating himself to Astros players, coaches, or manager.
You got to ask for help.
You got to check with other umpires to see if it did hit Altuve.
Altuve needs to be pulled out of the situation. They need to keep him in this game.
They're going to say that's a fair ball, and it did not hit Altuve in the end of the inning. Josh Hader taking the mound here for the bottom half of the ninth inning. Altuve showing where it hit his foot. And now he's ejected.
Oh, man.
That's so bad.
So good.
That's so bad.
It's incredible.
Altuve takes off his shoe and sock to just show, look at this red mark on my foot. This is my proof that you got this wrong. You got all the technology in the world in order to get this right. Here's my foot, and he gets ejected immediately upon removing his sock.
My favorite part is as he does that, the ump looks at him like, what are you doing? Get out of here. Just a big shrug.
Well, I feel like that's what I should have done to Stugotz when he took off his shoe in the eating area.
What do you want from me? I can't bend.
I mean, you're hoping to get tossed at that point, right? Because like worst case scenario is you stay in the game and then you have like the weird like dirt on your foot inside your sock and you have to run around with that. You don't want that.
Even if he's got a red bruise on his foot, it doesn't prove.
I'm with you.
That it was because the ball hit his foot.
I think it's gamesmanship, right? Like sometimes you go in the dugout or whatever, you punch yourself in the toes a couple times, just in the event that something like this happens. You know, like this may have been premeditated. We didn't actually see a replay where it hit his foot.
I can't believe anything this man tells me.
Mm-hmm.
Premeditated?
Possibly, yeah.
What are you talking about?
Gamesmanship.
The guy wore a wire.
All right.
Yeah.
You're going to think punching himself in the foot is a new thing?
Mm-hmm.
Guy wore technology.
Yep.
You called him a cheater, Dan.
You did.
Yeah.
Banging trash cans.
You cannot eject him in that situation when he's simply trying to prove
You
to you.
have to eject him in that situation. He's
Eject
taking
him.
off his clothes to show you up. What are you talking about?
He's not taking it off to show you up. He's taking it off to show you that you are incorrect and that he has the proof.
It's not proof, though. He could have suffered a bruise on his foot.
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing?
Falling in the shower.
Exactly right.
That morning.
That's
Baseball,
right.
Jeremy.
Which
We're
he
doing
probably
baseball.
did.
Baseball.
Oh, yeah,
Dan
you're right.
wanted
My bad.
baseball.
I'm
We're
sorry.
talking baseball here.
Right, super logical. I'm glad this
Could
is
have
where
dropped
we
a
went
bowling
with it.
ball. on his
Okay,
foot.
Jeremy, what should he have done?
bowling
Not to get ejected? You just have a bunch of bare feet people. Why? Shoeless Joe's not in the Hall of Fame for a reason.
Shoeless Jose.
Shoeless Jose is what he was last night. You, Greg Cote, are somebody who is moderately interested in baseball. How is it that I get you to be interested in anything that's happening over these last 12 days? Because I'm at the point, and I don't know how many people in our audience are going to side with me here, I'm already checking tiebreakers.
Wow.
Oh, I love this.
Yes.
I love the math, the algebra you've got to do to figure out if so-and-so does this and so-and-so does this.
Yeah.
Who clinches the wild card?
See, I'm against the wild card.
Oh no.
Yeah, so I don't like
What?
I don't like wild cards in baseball. That's
At all?
Greg, it's been great.
I don't
It's
think
been,
so.
The only reason the last 2 weeks are going to matter is because of the wild
I
card.
know, but again, that's a contrivance. It's not real. It's
the word of the day.
if you get a wild card spot in baseball, the record shouldn't even say you made the postseason. Okay, I know the Marlins.
The Marlins won twice.
Yeah,
as the wild card, they won the World Series twice. You're taking them both away.
I'm just saying the wild card. I'm talking about the latest wild card.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm talking about the recent expansion.
The expanded wild card.
He's not saying you take away the World Series. He's just saying you don't show that they made the playoffs.
Right.
Exactly.
Now, here's the other thing. Okay, this is a Miami-based podcast. If Miami had a baseball team that was worth supporting, I would tend to be more of a baseball fan. Okay, when my hometown team starts off the season 6-24, and by midseason has traded away everybody anybody's heard of because the owner doesn't spend money, it does deter me from following the sport in general because I'm so dissatisfied and discouraged by the home team.
By the way, just to fact check here, the Texas Rangers who won last year.
Both the teams in the World Series last year were wild card teams.
Okay.
Yeah, and the new wild card, a 5 seed and a 6 seed.
Look, I'm still against it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But should the record show that there were no teams in the World Series?
No, they won the World Series. They just weren't in the playoffs.
But if the Diamondbacks lost the World Series, they just didn't make the playoffs and didn't do anything, right?
Correct.
That season's gone.
That's one thing I used to appreciate most about baseball is that it had so few playoff spots that they were gold. They were something to be treasured, as opposed to the NBA and the NHL where almost half the teams make the playoffs. Baseball was great because it had so few playoff teams, and the more it adds, the more diluted it gets for me.
Video, can you please show obvious video of replay of Altuve clearly being hit in the foot with the ball?
I don't know about
I see a lot of dirt coming up. I don't think that was obvious. Oh, no, come on.
Yeah,
no
he
way.
reached out.
And it clearly changed
If
his
anything,
angles.
he reached his foot out.
Greg was right about the bowling ball. Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Jose Altuve.
Yeah.
If anything, I'd say that's insurance fraud. He hurt himself doing something else, and now he's trying to get himself injured at work.
Right.
This is what is happening with Greg Cote at this age, and I am assuming that most of the people in the audience will learn that their parents and grandparents will become this. It's not merely that Greg Cote is against learning. He is at this point incapable of changing his mind. He wants baseball the way that baseball was, and there is nothing that I can put in front of him that is going to change his opinion on this. He is a fully formed person on his opinions, and none of them are changing at this age.
Yeah, I disagree. I'm pro learning. Mm-hmm. You know, the others, they all learn from me. I'm a guy who learns. Every day of my life, I'm learning.
You hate to learn.
No,
you
I
don't
love
want
to
new
learn.
information on
I don't
anything.
want extraneous information.
Yeah.
I don't. When a home run is hit, I could give two shits the velocity
Why are
speed
you
of the
giving
ball.
two shits on
leaving-
that?
Because one's not enough. I'm double shitting.
Listen up, folks. The college football landscape has changed a lot. NIL deals, social media, the transfer portal. There's never been more distractions for an athlete. But Powerade knows what's important, the commitment to the game. The game is what matters. With 50% more electrolytes than Gatorade Thirst Quencher, Powerade hydrates athletes as they block out the noise and put in the work. Hydrate your grind with Powerade. Grab a pack today on Amazon or at a store near you. See product label for additional details. It takes more.
When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. As Metalwork Media continues to grow as a content studio, we strive to hire only the best and most qualified candidates. Thankfully, with LinkedIn, they have made it easy for us to find them. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So, if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/prep. That's linkedin.com/prep. Post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, it's Roy from the Dan Le Batard Show, and did you know that there's one phase of sleep that almost everyone fails to get enough of? This phase is crucial. It's responsible for your body's daily rejuvenation. It controls hunger, weight loss, hormones, it boosts energy, and so much more. I'm talking about deep sleep. Like many of us, I struggle with sleep, and I know Juju and Cynthia from Mystery Crate do as well. Every night, it's the same thing. The longer it takes to fall asleep, the more stress I get, knowing I'll be exhausted the next day. And one major reason people miss out on deep sleep is magnesium deficiency. Over 80% of us are lacking it. Magnesium increases GABA, promoting relaxation at the cellular level, and helps regulate your body's stress response system. That's why I recommend Magnesium Breakthrough. It's the only supplement with all 7 forms of magnesium to help you fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, and wake up refreshed. Don't miss out on the most relaxing sleep ever with Magnesium Breakthrough. For an exclusive offer, go to bioptimizers.com/Dan and use promo code DAN during checkout to save 10%. And if you subscribe, not only will you get amazing discounts and free gifts, but you will also make sure your monthly supply is guaranteed.
Dan Le Batard.
He called me on my own podcast. He called me full of shit, claiming that I'm faking interest in the solar eclipse.
Well, you do this. You love to just get excited about everything.
Okay, Junior.
Stugotz.
I had to school you and explain to you.
He was going to take you to Augusta.
When I was 17 years old, Alan Sherry and I used to haunt the Bueller Planetarium.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
This is behind the bit. This is behind the bit. This is behind
the bit.
For the past 20 years, you've seen and heard bits on the Dan Le Batard Show. You may have wondered to yourself, what are these bits? And what's wrong with these people?
I have the incongruent images of Chris Cote in a ridiculous car battery costume, dancing happily. He will ask all our guests today some awful car-specific pun while in that costume. Is it hot in there, Chris?
You need to pump the brakes on the negative attitude, all right? I am revved up for today's show. Let's do it!
All right, don't use all of your material yet.
Guys, this is just a speed bump, all right? We're going to get through this. Being a real negative charge right now, all right? We're going to need a positive charge from you.
What, Chris?
Really feeling the tire pressure today, Dan.
Just get out of here.
I was really stalling hard. Dan,
All right.
This is not the kind of suspension that I like. Producer must have thought you were a real dipstick.
You were so scared. Battery, tell the truth.
A real fluid situation. At the start, I was a little low, but then you kept saying to me, don't worry, I got this. Miles, this Sunday, who's going to be kicking tires and lighting fires?
You've got the car battery is struggling there. It is breaking things. It is hitting the microphone.
Vroom, 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 vroom.
How did this come to be, Chris?
This was our sales team doing a great job of integrating content into our show. This is something that Dan has yearned for forever, of just wanting sales to be creative, that we can do it in the show where it fits the show. This is just, I think, as well as we've done at incorporating a sales thing into content, because man, I just remember them sending me an email of just, hey, we're pitching this thing at Advanced Auto Parts, we're gonna need someone and we think you're the character to do it. And I'm just like, as I usually am, team guy, I'm just like, let's do it without really thinking. And then once I got in the costume and I was like, all right, I gotta, man, the rabbit hole of, because our audience are the ones that fed me. Like we asked our audience, feed us, what should be my puns? So I was getting a lot of those from Twitter. It was great audience engagement because people wanted to feed the lines, then they wanted to hear the lines that they pitched, and it was just, I had a whole sheet of just stupid puns that I could just find a window for, and that was a fun week.
Do you think the sponsor liked this bit?
Just like they say, any news is good news. I think the sponsor liked this particular integration. I mean, it's a car battery with the name on it. You know, Chris Cote is saying car puns. So yeah, I think they enjoyed that.
It was the first time I was part of a sales thing. I felt like there was pressure. I didn't want to disappoint Advanced Auto Parts. I didn't want to disappoint Dan, but it all came together and it was freaking hilarious.
What did you think of it, Greg? Had you seen it at the time?
I'd forgotten it. It makes me smile to see it. And Christopher, the next time you're meeting someone for the first time and they say, hey, what do you do for a living? I just want you to show them a photo of you dressed as a car battery, because I don't think people fully understand what it's like to work on this show, to work on the Le Batard Show.
Weird request. requests. You get weird requests.
You may be asked to dress as Marie Antoinette one week. You just don't know, and that's a good example of that.
What costumes has Dan made you wear?
I would say the best costume was most recent. It was the bear costume. Well, I was dressed up as one of the chefs on the FX show,
You mean
The
Winnie
Bear.
the Pooh?
What?
You mean Winnie the Pooh?
No, not Winnie the Pooh. I would never dress up as Winnie the Pooh. That seems more like a Chris Cote costume, actually.
The best part about that week, and we got to include this, is Dan yelling at a security guard. What happened was First Take was doing the show at the Clevelander where we were at, down by the pool, and they had taken over the whole pool area. And Dan was feeling like, why is First Take coming here? And now it seems like this is First Take's home. No, this is our home. Chris, I want you in the Battery to go downstairs and be in the background of First Take because this is our studio. They're only here because we're here. Advanced Auto Parts, not a sponsor of First Take. So this ruffled a lot of feathers. People at First Take were like, why is that Advanced Auto Parts battery there? They're not paying for that. So a security guard came up to me while I'm down there with my jazz hands and is like, hey, you gotta go. And I'm like, okay. So I left and Dan's like, no. This is my set. We're going back down there and I'm going with you. So Dan goes back down there with me. The same producer gets really furious of like, why is this battery back there again when we just said they didn't buy time on this, they can't be there.
Got a battery back there. It is a corporate sponsor. I want to, on air, take that battery down there myself and stand in the crowd behind First Take. Billy and Stugotz can handle whatever it is that we have to do there. I want to do that. Do I have permission to take, I want to put in the First Take shot, both me, I'm not asking, I'm asking your assessment.
Dude, as the authority given to me as eternal yes man to one Dan Le Batard, knock yourself out, pal.
All right, let's go, Battery. We're going down there. Chris, you help the Battery get down there.
The battery has entered the shot.
Yeah. Okay.
Briefly,
Wow.
They have cut away. They have Derrick Henry on First Take right now. This is not terrestrial radio norms where you tell your audience to tune away. Supplementally, if you watch, there is a battery and a Dan Le Batard at a bar.
Jiggling.
I believe ordering a drink in front of some bikini beachgoers that are sitting at the edge of the Clevelander pool. There was a producer trying to stop Dan Le Batard right now.
This is getting testy.
Uh-oh.
Oh, my
There
God.
is an
Dan is in his
exchange.
face. Oh, boy.
Yeah, are you
All right,
seeing
this is a better idea. Forget about a happy place. Play-by-play of Dan and the security guard. This is great.
This is awkward as all get out.
All right, so me and Billy.
This is the absolute strangest guy on.
Me and Billy are at Radio Row. We are watching through a television screen live footage right now of Dan Le Batard trying to get the Advanced Auto Parts car battery on the set of First Take and screaming at a security guard.
If you're watching ESPN News right now, you have a live shot of Dan talking to a security guard pointing up at the ESPN Studio South Beach sign. I guess
This is my house.
This was specifically during Super Bowl week. If you notice, Jorge Masvidal was at Radio Row. That Super Bowl week in particular was in Miami. So, yeah, I mean, everybody at ESPN descended upon the city, and a lot was definitely going on around that time. And specifically, I remember Dan getting upset because ESPN basically didn't use him around the Clevelander, and they had First Take basically take over the entire property. So Dan and Chris, while dressed up as a car battery, went down and had an argument with ESPN security because he wanted to take over that set for First Take because, I mean, this is quote unquote his town and this was quote unquote his studio. So he wanted to take over the quote unquote stage that Stephen A. Smith was on.
So there's a video, there's a photo, a still shot of Dan like just giving the business of like a producer in Dan's face and Dan telling him this is my, like you just like you don't hear what he's saying, but in the video you see Dan like, no, this is my set, this is my, like, and Dan was standing up to the First Take producers basically saying I can do what I want around here. And it was, and you see my jazz hands because through the whole thing I'm hearing Dan and I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna get fired, and I'm just like doing jazz hands with my stupid battery costume, and it was just, that's one of those things that in the moment it was terrifying. But in hindsight, it's freaking hilarious.
Did any of it actually air on First Take?
Yeah, it was on First Take where you saw me back there because they're live. I remember walking downstairs for that time, like the second time, when Dan's like, we're going back down there, and I don't care what they say. I had a moment from Bad Boys 2 where I literally, Dan's like, are you good with this? And I'm like, Dan, we ride together, we die together. Like, what am I gonna like leave you here? Like, I'm in the costume, I'm going with you. Like, if we go down for this, we go down. So they were live and it happened, and there was definitely some like, you know, Dan had the answer from producers, and there was some drama after. I don't remember the details of it.
Would anyone try to steal this battery?
I don't think anybody thought of stealing the battery. I think more along the lines of we thought of tossing it in the Clevelander dumpster on the alley once the advertisement flight was done, but there's really no use for it now. So if you want to steal it, we could just put it outside. You could take it away in a U-Haul or something.
Claire, what did you think of the talking car battery?
It was so funny. It was like super duper, super duper, super duper, super duper, super duper.
I think they get it, Claire. It was super duper.
Super duper, super duper.
It was super duper, Claire. They get it.
Super duper.
Okay, Claire's a star. Claire is a star.
Super funny.
One of my favorite visuals in the entire time we've been doing this was seeing through that black screen the horror on the face of your son, Greg, as all of this was playing out, but his hands never stopped moving. And so nobody could see that the mascot was scared. The mascot looked happy. But as I listened to that, I really am legitimately bothered that our own crew doesn't remember the details on why that happened. It was not because I'm like, ESPN is in town overrunning everything and it's my studio, my town. I was mad because they'd been charging our people, our cameraman, $9 per muffin downstairs, and all of a sudden our people had to pay for the breakfast downstairs, and their people did not have to pay for anything that was happening. That's what I was mad about.
Dan, I'm going to tell you right now, I know what you think you're doing right now. Your clarification made it sound so much worse. It was a lot cooler. It was like, this is our studio. You guys aren't going to come in here and tell us what we can and can't do. Dan's like, you're going to charge us for food?
Yeah, Muffin Gate.
You sound ridiculous, but you have lost a lot of weight.
By the way, ESPN execs kept tabs on that, fired Chris later that year.
That's right.
Oh, ouch.
I'm not making up that the issue was that for 8 years, our camera people who could not afford the expensive breakfast downstairs were being charged for stale muffins, and then all of a sudden the spread that came through during the Super Bowl was something that we didn't even have access to. Like, that's what I was upset about.
Yeah, but what Amin is saying, what Greg is saying, is your honesty is getting in the way of a really good story.
Yeah.
Stop being so honest.
Way cooler if you're like, you know, because we see you pointing. When you point, like, people think, oh, he's just pointing at the camera. No, he's pointing at the ESPN sign above the Clevelander thing. He's like, this is our house. That sounds cool.
Yeah,
Not like, I want breakfast right now. Just sounds fat.
All right, point taken. It does sound fat. The part that I'm objecting to isn't this is my house. It's Roy's assessment. Dan was upset because ESPN wasn't using him.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Like, that's pathetic. Like, that's not in any way true, and it's simply pathetic.
No.
Like, that Roy's assessment would be Dan was really upset because during the Super Bowl he had a great desire to be on First Take.
But then it's true. Super Bowl is your favorite time of year. You're always wanting to be on Radio Row. You tell Stugotz, oh, let me go. And Stugotz's like, let me just have this one thing. And Dan's like, no, come on, man. And so you were upset. Stugotz and Billy.
Did they ask you to be on First Take that week?
They did not.
Are you upset? I mean,
I'm enraged still. I'm still thinking about it. I try and hide it under muffin costs, but that's really where my insanity comes from. I just wanted to be sitting next to Derrick Henry.
Also, on a side, while we're watching this, I'm looking around at everyone's reaction to different funny times. The only time I saw Greg react was when he saw himself.
Well, I wondered why I was there sitting next to Christopher, because I had nothing to do with this bit, you know, so I didn't. Finally, I spoke, but mostly I'm just sitting there looking at Christopher.
Odd choice that I was not asked to sit down and
really
talk about how Roy's totally incorrect assessment that my rage spawned from not being on First Take?
I'm not certain there's a show you would least rather be on than First Take. Like, if I gave you a choice of all the shows and you had to choose one you don't want to be on, I believe it would be First Take.
You guys know how we only did it twice. One was to celebrate Randy Moeller's gold calls, and the other time was because we had to concoct some argument as part of cross promotions between the shows. And you remember that I didn't want to go on their show and do it their way, where I had to do argument television, but I was talked into, let's do it for the sake of promotion. And I guess the third time we were on is when we were on in the background with your son as the car battery, and then he was soon thereafter let go.
Does that count as a First Take appearance officially?
I guess it must.
It does.
In the annals of the show.
On IMDb, he's got a credit for it. Baseball Tonight? Would you like to be a part of Baseball Tonight?
Oh, we'd love that.
Are they still doing Baseball Tonight?
I don't think so.
No. It's once a week.
Yeah.
Is it? What time?
Before Sunday Night Baseball.
See, us team heads know.
Yeah. They have a podcast, too.
They should do it on Tuesdays, no? Like, Tuesday should be the National Baseball Day of the week because no one's playing football. And it's the only day anyone's going to care about baseball.
Last night was Tuesday. Did you watch any baseball?
No.
Tuesday and Wednesday, I guess, right, is when you get a little bit of the football withdrawal at this time of year. But if I can't get you guys interested in what's coming on baseball now, I'm not going to be able to do it because this last 10 days are going to – it's already started. For all intents and purposes, it feels like the playoffs have already started because you've got some situations that might come down to the last game. And all of these games are really important. And a bunch of local fan bases are doing, well, I'm the Mariners. I kind of need to go 9-4 the rest of the way. Everyone locally in their region is doing that with their baseball teams. And how many teams are in it? Like how it's the thing about the wild card that has been so good is that these would not be meaningful games, Greg. Like all of these games that have huge meaning, like last night's Astros-Padres game, wouldn't matter under other circumstances. So you're really missing out on consequences, on stakes. It's a weird thing for you not to want with your sports.
Right. I get that. But when you play 162 games, it's too many, first of all. I don't want to follow any sport nonstop for most of a calendar year. I just don't. And, you know, if the team that now needs to go 9-4 for a wild card spot is in that position, probably because they had a 4-game losing streak in May, you know. So, again,
the Mariners were up 10 on the Astros and coughed it up very quickly, but they're still in it.
Right.
And I'm not going to be able to do this, Jeremy. I'm not going to be able to get Greg. There's no angle from which I'm going to be able to make him interested in this.
What about stars? Like, because there are more stars and up-and-coming stars in Major League Baseball right now than ever. You mentioned the Padres, Dan. Everybody thinks Paul Skeens is just going to win the Rookie of the Year because everybody's heard of Paul Skeens. Right. He has 21 career starts, right? And I believe he is only trailing Hideo Nomo, Kerry Wood, Mark Pryor, and Doc Gooden in terms of strikeouts, right? In terms of ERA over 21 starts. Sure. Second all-time behind Steve Rogers. He's not going to win Rookie of the Year because Jackson Merrill, the center fielder for the Padres, has 24 homers. That's the third most ever in a rookie season for a center fielder. He's spectacular. Been carrying the Padres that have all these other names that you've heard of, but yet aren't performing up to snuff. It's him and Jurickson Profar out in the West doing that for the Padres. Can that get you interested in this chase down the stretch?
Look, I recognize I consider myself to be a casual baseball fan.
Yeah.
I recognize that it's been a wonderful season for a number of different things. If all you told me was Ohtani and Aaron Judge, those two alone are just having spectacular years worth following. But, you know, there's only so much bandwidth. You know, and when my hometown team sucks and doesn't spend money.
Well, we can follow to make. I've been following the Marlins to make sure they don't lose 100 games. They got to go 6-5 the rest of the way. Yeah, it's
a big one last night. That was a fun game. That was a fun game yesterday.
That was a big one. Yeah.
Well, that's the drama left in the Marlins season is whether or not they lose 100
Jeremy,
games.
I'm going to have to do something, and I'm sorry to do this to you, but I'm going to need to banish you, even though you're my ally here, and we will go to you for boring baseball reports during the show. But I'm going to need to send you away here because all of those stats, you lost everybody in the room with everything you were talking about.
Well, I got taken out of it when you were comparing him to these historic pitchers because I was thinking, wow, none of their careers ended up panning out. Like they all kind of like had all this promise, and none of those
Steve Rogers. None
of those names were great.
Captain America?
Dwight Gooden.
Dr. K.
Wooden arm.
Do you think that story ended well for old Dr. K?
But he was
Jeremy out. I'm sorry to do this to you, but you have to read the room, and I have to read the room. We are outnumbered here for a number of different ways.
We're here. We're going down this path with you guys.
We love baseball.
Old Captain Mutiny over there.
America's pastime.
When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. As Metalwork Media continues to grow as a content studio, we strive to hire only the best and most qualified candidates. Thankfully, with LinkedIn, they have made it easy for us to find them. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So, if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/prep. That's linkedin.com/prep. Post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
Now's a good time to remember where the story of tequila started. In 1795, the first tequila distillery was opened by the Cuervo family. And 229 years later, Cuervo is still going strong. Family owned from the start, same family, same land. Now's a good time to enjoy Cuervo, the tequila that invented tequila. Go to Cuervo.com to shop tequila or visit a store near you. Cuervo, now's a good time. Trademarks owned by Becle, SAB, the CV. Copyright 2024. Próximo. Jersey City, New Jersey. Please drink responsibly.